Am I caught half in the shadows, or do we want to? Am I in the sun enough? All right. All right, Evan, can you hear me? Evan, text me if you can hear me. Text me if you can hear me. All right. Evan? Evan, Evan. Evan? Evan?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Hold on. I'm checking to see
Text.
You hear me? Yeah. Sounds perfect.
Can you hear me? You can hear me? You can hear me on the mic? Hello, hello. 54321. Can you hear me? Evan?
Hello, 5-4. Yes.
5-4. You want to turn it up, or is it good? 54321. You good? All right, good. Thanks. And it's live at live. 54321. Does that work? Are we good, Evan? Yeah. That's solid, right?
Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check.
All right, perfect. Yeah.
Oh my God, guys, I'm so sorry. That's the one. Felt a little uneasy. Are any microphones damaged tonight?
Doubtful, but
Take it up with
iHeartMedia.
got-
I am fully insured.
Something Thank you. That was one of them.
There's a this.
That was on here. Thank you. We are streaming live, just so you guys know. Oh, good.
Now there's evidence.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything broken?
Doubtful. Actually, I'm gonna pull this in. Yeah, if you got a
It is a
sandbag, that'd
little
be great.
wobbly.
I don't think we ever had this many. You hold on to this?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put that there. That should
I
be
can
good.
hang this until he comes back with a sandbag. I'll just
Okay.
star in your live stream.
Yeah, everyone's good. All right. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks for rescuing me.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for coming. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 mics. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. We didn't think anyone was going to show up. So.
Really?
Yeah.
This is huge. I mean,
This
dude,
is
this
a
is
big
like my story today, actually.
Oh, that's good.
With more listeners, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a big deal for people. All good? You ready, CJ?
You told me I was not agitated. That's not my. All right, guys, stand behind the speaker so you can see you, right? And then. Sure. All right, I think I'm gonna go. Bruce, and Marty. You guys need to do that. Yeah. You're gonna read the script? Do the script? Yeah, do the script. Do the script. That'll be 2-3 minutes. That way. We don't want to part time talk. All right.
Just talk it and look up.
Just talk. But know they're not going to get that much of it. All right. Let's make sure Evan's got it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Evan?
Yep.
Okay. All right. We're going to get going in 1 second. Everybody okay here to go? Everybody all right? Oh,
Yeah, I've already knocked this over once.
okay. I'll give you a chance to get set. We good?
Yeah.
Everybody good? Okay, we're going to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm Jamie Court. I'm president of Consumer Watchdog. We're here today because there is a hearing in City Hall, an assembly oversight hearing of Commissioner Lara, Insurance Commissioner Lara. And as you all know, we have a homeowners crisis. People are getting dropped. People are getting run out of their insurance because it's too expensive. And unfortunately, Insurance Commissioner Lara has been worse than sleep at the switch. He's been in the back rooms making deals with the insurance companies, and we've now had a chance to look at the fine print of those deals. And those deals, unfortunately, don't live up to what he said they would live up to. There is a regulation that we're hoping the committee will get to today and ask the tough questions to Commissioner Lara. We have some homeowners who are going to talk. We're going to hear from Harvey Rosenfield, the founder of Consumer Watchdog and the author of Prop 103, about detailed problems with these regulations. But just to suffice to say, these regulations have more loopholes in them than Alpine lace cheese. They have more loopholes than Alpine lace Swiss cheese. This is a real problem for the people of California because we are relying on these commissioner regulations to get people the coverage that they were promised by the commissioner. The commissioner said time and time again, and as recently as 2 days ago, that he would deliver 85% coverage in wildfire risk areas to people who were previously uninsured in exchange for the right of insurance companies to raise rates based on these secret algorithms that are climate models. And yet, when you read the fine print of the regulation, or just the print of the regulation, that's not what they do. They allow these companies to increase coverage by 5%. Not to 85%, but 5% more. Or the companies can come in with an entirely new deal. Bottom line, these regulations are not going to get people more coverage, but we're all going to be paying more in insurance premiums, a lot more in insurance premiums. In Florida, that's what happened. In Florida, the companies were forced to, in Florida, the companies were allowed to raise rates based on climate models, and their premiums are 2.5 times what we have here. So these regulations will not work to get people more coverage, and they will raise coverage for everyone in the state. We're going to hear from a couple of homeowners who've had this problem and are not being represented by the commissioner, and then we're going to go upstairs to room 1060, where the Assembly Insurance Committee is meeting, and it's on the 10th floor, and it's also being live streamed, I believe, on the Assembly website. And we're going to ask the committee to ask the commissioner to answer this question. You said you were going to get people in wildfire areas 85% coverage, and your regulation doesn't do that. It allows them to get off without expanding coverage, but allows them to raise rates. How are you going to fix this problem? So first I want to bring up Bruce Breslow. I'll ask him to spell his name. He is from Chatsworth and had a horrible problem with his insurance company raising rates over 1,000% in the last 4 years. Bruce.
Thank you, Jamie. My name is Bruce Breslau. That's B-R-E-S-L-A-U. I live in a HOA community of 290 owners in Chatsworth, California. Months ago, Farmers, our insurer of 20 years, dropped us. And our broker was forced to find coverage from what's called the non-admitted market. These are insurers that are not regulated. So if they go bankrupt and we have a claim, we're also out in the cold. The other side of that coin is we have 50% coverage we had last year. Last year we had 100% full coverage. Now we have half of that. However, the premium went from $349,000 to a whopping $1.7 million. That's a 400% increase. Since 2020, the premium has increased 1,000%. What this most recent increase does, it puts a just under $5,000 special assessment on each and every homeowner. Now, if you've got an emergency fund, $5,000 puts a good dent in that. But coming up with $5,000 in a middle class association is very difficult, and that's just for this year alone. We've got a variety of people. We've got a diverse community, old, young, all persuasions. And we've got many people who are on fixed incomes. They're seniors. We've got people who are unemployed, still suffering from the strikes of a couple of years ago. So we're asking for some legislation. We need a law bringing these regulated insurers back into our marketplace for premiums that are reasonable. And on our part, we also have to reasonably participate in home hardening and wildfire mitigation procedures. We've done that. We regularly have brush clearance. If we don't, we get fined by the fire department. So we have one civic organization looking out for our safety. Thank you, Los Angeles Fire Department. But we need consumer legislation to protect our financial interests. There are people that are profiting from this unfortunate experience. Won't get into that right now, but we really do need this legislation, and not a couple of years from now. We need this help now. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. The legislation Bruce is talking about is legislation to require that insurance companies have to cover people who harden their homes. If you do the right thing and you harden your home, you should get a coverage with a real insurance policy. Because Commissioner Lara's plan doesn't even require them to sell real insurance policies at that 5% rate. They can sell a fair plan-like policy. We need real insurance policies for everyone who hardens their homes. That's the legislation that Bruce is talking about. I want to bring up Gigi Bannister, who's from Crestline, and she'll tell you a little about her experience.
Thank you for coming today. My name is Gigi Bannister. I live in Crestline in the San Bernardino Mountains. I'm a former veteran and firefighter, and I have lived up there for over 20 years. In 2019, farmers called me, and I was forced into a California FAIR plan for fire coverage. I had to buy wraparound policy to cover everything else, and you can't get a FAIR plan without it. My premium doubled. I figured at least I was covered if something catastrophic happened, but that was not the case. In 2023, an ice dam broke loose from my roof and wrecked my deck. The wraparound insurer wouldn't cover my $40,000 claim, and then they canceled me. The Commissioner Lara and the insurance department are doing nothing to help people like me, and it's got to stop. I take care of my 79-year-old husband, actor, who is ill and takes care of, and I take care of my place. It's all on me, but I do the best I can to keep the brush cleared and to mitigate against fire. We should be able to get reasonable priced regular home insurance if we keep our places safe. Insurance companies should be forced to honor claims. Otherwise, what is insurance for? Commissioner Lara isn't doing his job. He's letting insurance companies get away with high-risk premiums, and he's letting them raise rates but not expand into coverage. He's letting them use secret black box software to price you out of insurance and then not guaranteeing people can get coverage at all. My insurance shouldn't cost me as much as my mortgage, and it's time that Lara did something about it. If I protect my place from fire, I should get traditional home insurance policy that pays for my deck when it breaks. If he can't hold their feet to the fire, he should get out of the kitchen.
I should say Gigi is a former firefighter and a veteran. And I want to bring up Harvey Rosenfield, who is another type of fighter, not a firefighter, but an insurance fighter, who's the founder of Consumer Watchdog and also the author of Insurance Reform Prop 103. And this regulatory proposal that Lara is proposing is going to do grave damage to this important insurance law that has saved consumers hundreds of billions of dollars in the 35 years it's been in effect. Harvey.
Thank you, JB. Thanks, everybody, for showing up today. My name is Harvey Rosenfield. I want to give you a little historical context here. 36 years ago, the insurance industry was destabilizing California with excessive rate increases, if you could even find it, because they've started pulling out of the state, just like they've been doing here in the last 18 months. The goal here in California is to escape the results of what the voters did back in 1988. Our Proposition 103 was pretty simple. It required insurance companies to open their books and justify to the full public why they need a rate increase, and the insurance commissioner has to review it. The public gets to review it, and it has to be a decision about whether it's justified or not. So the essence of Proposition 103 was disclosure, transparency, and the ability of the public to have a say to make sure that the public didn't get screwed. And one of the provisions of Proposition 103 that I'm these days frequently criticized about is the provision that made the post an elected commissioner. Prior to Prop 103, the commissioners were appointed by the governor. It was always political patronage, and the industry got their person in to run the show. And of course, nothing got done to protect the public, which is why we had to go to the ballot box in 1988. The insurance industry spent $63 million trying to defeat it. We waged a David versus Goliath grassroots battle, and we beat the insurance industry. And they've spent the last 36 years trying to undercut it in the courts, in the legislature, and before the commissioner. And they finally found an insurance commissioner willing to do the dirty work for them. I think it was the right thing to do to make the position an elected post, but this commissioner has betrayed his oath of office. He has misled and lied to the public. And we're finally here to say, we're going to set the record straight. What's the battle about right now? The battle is this. For the last 18 months, the insurance companies have been pulling out of neighborhoods all over the state. The companies have said to the commissioner, we're not going to start selling insurance again unless you free us from the consumer protections of Proposition 103. The commissioner said, okay, one of the things they want to do now that they cannot do now is use computer models and software and algorithms to jack up our premiums. They're not allowed to do that under Proposition 103. The commissioner has said he will allow them to do that. And as we speak here today, there's another proceeding that the commissioner is actually supposed to be at in Sacramento, where there's a full-blown hearing on this proposal. The companies want to use models. We have submitted comments which are available to you because as Jamie said, we read the fine print. We have people on staff who can go toe-to-toe with the industry's lawyers. We know what they're doing, and it's a fraud. So what the insurance commissioner has proposed to do, this is the quid pro quo for letting insurance companies use software models to jack up our rates. The insurance commissioner said to the public, I promise you, I'm going to make the insurance companies come in and start selling to people who haven't been able to buy insurance for their homes for the last 18 months. Well, we took a look at the proposal the commission has made. It's riddled with loopholes. It is not going to ensure that everybody who needs coverage, who can't get it today, will get it today. It says, the commissioner, you'll hear him, if you can even get him to show up in front of your cameras, you might hear him say 85% of people in these distressed areas will be covered. Well, there's a loophole to that. The regulation actually says maybe 85, but it's okay if you just do 5. And then there's another loophole that says, well, it's okay if you just do 5, but if you can come up with some other way to show that you're going to sell insurance to the public, you could do that too. And then there's another loophole that says, after 2 years, if you haven't been able to meet your commitment, that's okay. As long as you're trying, just let us know. And all of the proof of whether they're meeting the commitment is secret. These models, consumers and media from having the ability to look in on those models and see if they are going to be excessive, if they're going to be discriminatory. They're certainly untested. His regulation doesn't require any of the protections of Proposition 103. In fact, it eliminates the core protections of transparency and disclosure and justification that are the quintessential elements of Proposition 103, which is why this is such an important, it's complicated, but it's so important. It's going to affect every, whoops. It's going to, sorry about that. It's going to affect every policyholder and consumer in the state of California. Thank you.
So bottom line, Lara lied, Lara lied, Lara lied. He's lied about a lot of things. One of the things he's lied about that Harvey didn't go through is that the requirement to sell more policies, which is a very small requirement compared to what he said it would be, actually allows the companies to sell not a traditional homeowners policy, an HO3 policy. They're allowed to sell a fair plan policy to meet that commitment. And people already have access to fair plan. Ask Gigi. So Bruce and Gigi, wildfire victims are not, wildfire survivors are not guaranteed anything under this plan. But what we all are guaranteed is to pay more in insurance rates, and that's wrong. We've kept rates down in this state through tough regulation. We should not roll back that regulation, particularly when we're not getting anything in exchange for it in terms of more coverage. So I'm going to take questions from people here, and if people on the live stream want to ask questions, you can try to email me or text me. I'm at the top of the press release, my phone, and I'll try to take it. But does anyone have a question? Yes.
Just a devil's advocate question.
Sure.
So, climate change is raising losses. Insurance companies are having difficulties, paying these losses and meeting these prices. They're faced with higher reinsurance costs. So, how do you keep insurance companies whole and still, protect without some kind of rate increases when the risk goes up? The insurers pay higher rates.
All right. The question for people who didn't hear was, wildfires are threatening insurance companies and they're having to buy reinsurance. How do you keep rates low when they have to spend so much on reinsurance? Harvey, you want to deal with this?
Okay, sure. So there's a reason. First of all, the insurance companies, contrary to what the companies and the other PR folks are saying, under Prop 103, anything they can justify in terms of an increase, they're allowed to get. They can get every penny and a fair profit.
Look at the camera.
Sorry
about that.
All right, I'll start again. Under Proposition 103, contrary to what you've been told or may hear from the insurance industry and its allies, insurance companies are entitled to every rate increase they can justify by opening their books and showing they need it. In fact, they're even entitled to a fair profit, which is why California has been more profitable for home insurance companies than any other state in the nation over the last decades. So what they cannot do, and they're not allowed to do, is pass through the cost of reinsurance. Let me just tell you what that expense is. That's another prohibited expense under Prop 103, prohibited by prior commissioners. Insurance companies buy insurance themselves to back up their own coverage. And in the past, no commissioner has ever allowed insurance companies to pass through the expense of reinsurance to the policyholders, because reinsurance is controlled by a big global it's pricing. It's not regulated like rates are supposed to be here in California. And the result would be 50% increases off the bat if they're allowed to pass through reinsurance. So that's another issue that Commissioner Lara is saying he's going to capitulate to the industry and allow them to pass through the cost of reinsurance. Well, the question is, well, is that fair to insurance companies? They've survived for 36 years covering themselves. Why do they suddenly need it? They don't. They want it. They're demanding it. Wouldn't it be great if we could go to the IRS and say, I'm using some computer software to project that I'm not going to have to pay any taxes the next few years, and I want to pass through some expenses, write off some expenses that I couldn't do before, like martini cocktails at lunch. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about insurance companies that were subject to a stringent regime over holding the line, and now suddenly the dam has burst.
For speeding up the approval of
Let me take this.
Okay.
We are all in favor of speeding up the rate review process, but we're not in favor of cutting out the intervener. We are good with a quicker timeline, but unfortunately, Commissioner Lara's bulletin that he issued allows for rates to be take effect 60 days after they are filed, And that would unfortunately cut out the intervener because we have 45 days to intervene and he has 15 days to approve or deny it. He doesn't want it. State Farm is a good example. State Farm had a 20% rate hike last year. They wanted more. We got them down a little bit. And now they're asking for 30% increase. But the regulations say they need to do a 9% decrease. Literally, that's what the algorithm that they uses puts a 9% decrease. But they say, oh, we're paying too much in reinsurance costs, and our reserve is too low. We need a 30% increase, even though the algorithm that they use to determine it doesn't allow it. Well, we looked in their reinsurance costs and we figured it out. The state company is paying the parent company for reinsurance, and they're overpaying. So they're upstreaming their profits through reinsurance to their parent company, and drying up their reserves, and then they're going to come in and ask for a 30% rate hike. If State Farm's California company can charge its parent company for reinsurance and just tack that on to the consumer, we're going to have 30% rate increases every year. It's not fair. And the commissioner knows it's not fair. He doesn't care. He's going into the companies because he wants them back, and somehow he believes if I give them everything I want, they're going to come back. Well, I'm telling you, they're not coming back. State Farm has said it does not need to insure one more policyholder. And in that 30% rate hike application, they say we're actually going to cover less policyholders. And by the way, we tried to intervene in that State Farm rate hike, and Commissioner Lara denied our intervention, but
He allowed us intervention.
he allowed our intervention, but he denied it initially, and we refiled, and he allowed it. So if we're not there, this commissioner is going to raise rates. And we know because we've saved $6 billion in 20 years intervening in cases. And if you look at this commissioner's, when he's involved and there's no intervener involved, 97% of the rate that is originally requested is recovered by the company. He's only knocking it down 3%. When we're involved in homeowners insurance rate in height through interventions, it goes down to 62% of the original rate requested. So if we're not there watching him, he's just going to continue to raise rates. And his bulletin is a way to get us out of this. So the commission, there's nothing standing in the way of the companies getting their rate hikes.
Can we get a little bit more from Gigi and from Bruce? What were you paying per month for your homeowners insurance before you were dropped? What are you paying now? Did your insurer, I think you said Farmers, did they say they were dropping you because of fire risk? Just a little more detail on those points.
Well, as I said, I'm in an HOA, so a lot of the details a homeowner in an HOA doesn't get. The board and the management company see all that and make decisions. Our insurance last year was built into our HOA cost. So the premium of $349,000, if you divide that by 290 units, it looks like there was about $1,200 per unit, or about $100, maybe 20% of that HOA cost. Now, when we
I'm sorry, so for you paid about $1,200 a year for.
once again, it was built into our homeowners association fee, our monthly fee.
Yeah.
Now, with 1.7 million, and you divide that by 290, you get something close to $6,000. Homeowners associations can't raise their fees more than 20%. So they have to do a special assessment, meaning that due for this special circumstance, each homeowner now has to pay an additional $4,700 just for the insurance for this year.
A year. So you're paying an additional basically $4,700 a year. Since all this
Well, plus the $1,200 that's built into the HOA fee. That hasn't gone down. So it's close to, $6,000.
Got it.
And I live in a unit that's 1,100 square feet. This is not a McMansion. This is a middle-class, great community.
Did they say they were dropping because of fire risk? Did they
Our
say?
broker said Farmers was getting out getting out of any wildfire areas and getting out of HOAs.
I came to the mountain in 2003, April of 2003. In October of 2003, we had the old fire, and we were evacuated for 11 days. After that, Farmers stayed with us. We were so surprised because my husband's family are farmers, used to be farmers brokers for decades. And so we stayed with Farmers for 20 years, both in Long Beach, and then we transferred up into Crestline. After the fires, however, moved forward, and we're all of a sudden faced in 2019, Farmers, it informs us they're dropping us. It's not for lack of payment, It's not because we didn't keep our home properly. We have a tiny cabin, and you have to go outside to change your mind. It's that small. But and we're surrounded by trees. We live in a forest, okay? But I managed to keep it according to specifications for both the county and the fire and the state. 2019, they dropped us. My broker, thank God, she was able to get us another insurance carrier besides Cal Fair. Because let's face it, the reason we have insurance is not to protect and replace our property values. The reason we have insurance is to pay the dividends to investors in the insurance companies. It has nothing to do with us. They force us to have insurance on our mortgages. We pay over half of our mortgage on insurance. When it goes up, our mortgage goes up because it's in escrow. So we don't have a choice in the matter. My mortgage is now over $2,000 a month. $1,600 of it is is insurance in the insurance escrow. So I don't know how you call that fair, but it's sure as hell not the American way, and it's not the American dream. My husband and I dreamed of being working in the film industry all our lives, and then being veterans, and then retiring to our cabin in Crestline, which is what we do. Every summer, I get rid of the pine needles and the trees, and I trim them all by myself. My husband has Parkinson's and dementia. He can't do it, right? So then in the snowmageddon, we had snow up 7 to 8 feet on our doors, front and back. They broke in our windows, the ice, and then the ice dam came off of the roof and split my deck. And the insurance company said, no, you see, it's not got a roof on it, and therefore we're not going to cover it. And there was all these cross-purpose exclusions and inclusions in the policy, which I would have read if they had provided me the policy. But they neither provided me the policy, didn't return phone calls, didn't file the denial claim in a timely manner, all of which is against California Insurance Code.
How do you spell your name?
First name Gigi, last name Bannnister. One N, you slide down 2 N's is a force.
So $2,000 a month is your mortgage. $1,600 of that is insurance. And what did it used to be?
About what was it? 600, yeah.
600 for the
Insurance.
portion.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are insurance companies getting involved in housing? Are they becoming developers? Do we know?
I don't think so.
I could say something to
Yeah.
that. They're not, as far as we know. I mean, apart from investments, but I'll tell you this: insurance companies are determining where people can live in California. So they're deciding who can build what where because of the decisions that insurance companies make, like Gigi was just saying, about what you have to pay. You end up having to live where the insurance companies tell you to live.
There is I'll tell you one thing the insurance companies are doing is investing in oil companies and fossil fuel companies. And those fossil fuel companies are funneling the climate change, which is funding the wildfires, which are threatening the insurance company's interests. We called at the beginning of Lara's administration for him to require all insurance companies to disclose their underwriting of fossil fuels. Who is insuring Aliso Canyon, for example? Who's insuring the Keystone Pipeline? And the company, and he denied that petition and hasn't done anything on that. We need to actually punish the companies that invest in fossil fuels somehow, force them to pay for mitigation perhaps. And that's something we're going to consider with the legislature next year, because if they're funding the climate change that's causing a threat to their industry, that's not healthy. Anybody got anything else?
Is your understanding that Commissioner Lara is here, or is he in Sacramento?
He's here, and he's here. By the way, there was the Michael Soller, who's there, promised on radio and KCBS when we asked to debate Lara. He said, well, you can come and testify at the hearing on September 17th, and Lara will hear you. Well, Lara's not going to hear you because he's at this hearing. So he is not listening to the public, and he was not present at either of the two other public hearings on these issues previously. He has not listened to the public. He's not at the hearings. It's a disgrace. He claims I'm going around listening to the public, but when it comes time to look at his proposals and hear the public's comments about his proposals, he's nowhere to be seen. Anyway, you have a question, Carlos? All right, we'll go upstairs. All right, we're going up to the room. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to be clear, the $4,700.
Can I get your name? Do you have a card?
Jamie
what is your
Court.
name?
I'm on top of the press release.
Okay, J-A-I.
J-A-M-I-E
C-O-U-R-T.
C-O-U-R-T. And I'm president of Consumer Watchdog. 2 words. And if you want a press release, that woman with the black hair there. That's Harvey Rosenfield. Yes. F-I-E-L-D. Is the founder of Consumer Watchdog and the author of Prop 103.
Can I get your phone?
I got my spot.
818-368-6885.
What's your cell?
Email. Brez, B-R-E-Z. And AOL.com. Legacy. Email. Restaurant.
All my cards are.
E-S-L-A-U. Phone number is 888.
Okay, and you're a resident?
Let me grab my phone.
It's California.